Welcome to this video which shows the functions and the features of the Meniscus Inland and Coastal CSO Monitoring Service. This service is displayed and delivered via a Silverlight dashboard, which is the application that you're viewing here. And all the data that is presented within this dashboard is processed from a range of raw data being delivered to the Meniscus service that covers essentially a range of rainfall data, be it historic rainfall data arriving at 5-minute intervals, or we have actually some forecast rainfall as well that isn't shown in this particular presentation, as well as alarm data, flow data, hours run data from individual assets that we're monitoring for the water industry, for the water companies. So what I want to do really first and foremost is to provide a very quick overview of the main features of the dashboard so that you can understand how the dashboard works, and then we can look at one or two areas in a little bit more detail. So firstly, I'd like to discuss about the status panel. The purpose of this is to give a very quick overview of the number of warnings in place in any one of the areas that we're monitoring. So at the moment we're monitoring on this dashboard beaches and the inland CSOs. We also have modules for shell fisheries and for catchment forecasting, which is prediction of sewerage discharges in sensitive catchments, but both these two areas aren't covered within this dashboard. So by clicking on the little green icon, you get some bit more information about the nature of the service that we're covering and how it works in practice. And if you click on the little down arrow, you'll actually see a little bit more information about the number of assets that we're monitoring within this application. So you can see here an inland CSO was covering 138 CSOs. So this is the purpose of this status panel, is to provide a summary of the alerts and the statuses, and to give a little bit more information. And we can minimize and maximize it by clicking that green triangle icon. On the right hand side we have a little mini-map. This shows the number of alerts that are in place for the whole of the region. So if we zoom into the map, we can see that the map, as we zoom in, this is the area we're looking at here, and you can see that on the mini-map you see a little blue icon, a blue area, which represents the view that we're looking at. So the purpose of the mini-map is really just to give an overview of the number of alerts at any one time within the whole of the region that we're monitoring. So let's just zoom back out a bit. What we'll do, these alerts are all flashing because they've been unacknowledged. So by clicking this red icon here, we could acknowledge these icons or alerts, and the icons stop flashing and they move to a solid state. Whenever a new icon or a new alert comes in, then you'll see that this starts flashing and we'll get a new message flagged up in this area here. On the top right hand corner we have a number of tabs which allow us to step through and see the various functions that we can access from each of these tabs. So these, for example, are the icons that are relevant to the beaches and looking at the beaches, and we'll go through these in a little bit more detail in a minute. I'll just briefly cover the generic icons which are available in this tools section. Firstly, we can include a number of reports within the dashboard. At the moment we're just showing this one, but we can include more if required. We'll look at that report in a minute when we look at the beaches in more detail. We can look at the user preferences, which this sets the amount of time that the graphs will pull data back for, so essentially dictating the time axis for the graphs. And we can also use this to set the local location. So a user can go in and set a specific location he's interested in looking at and the specific zoom level, and set that so when he logs in next time, he'll go straight to that particular position. And this toggle replay mode we'll go into now, and effectively allows us to change the mode of this operation from being a real-time application to one where we're starting to step through time on a half-hour, an hourly, or a 2-hour basis, depending on the buttons pressed. So by clicking on the date itself, we can bring up a little time graph which dictates the time that we'll start. So this is starting on the 29th of April. What I'll do, I'll just click on this CSO alert down here, pen march, and this particular one is now showing the moving average. This is the hourly moving average of the rainfall data being presented on this date, so on the 29th at this location. So this is an hourly moving average of all the individual rainfall pixels. This is the actual status, alert status. So this has been flagged up as grey up until when it was up until about 21:40 on the 28th. Then it moves into an amber. So an amber is when we have a high condition coming from the CSO, but the rainfall hasn't met a 5 millimeter per hour upper limit. So we're saying that we're in a high condition with the CSO status, but actually we haven't recognized that particular condition at the moment. And then we've got the level data underneath it, which actually shows us the CSO level at the time. So the red is when the CSO alert condition has moved from a high condition into a high condition, i.e. it is discharging. And in this case it is actually evidenced by the level data. So we can have a good confirmation that this alert is actually correct, even though we haven't reached this 5 millimeter per hour rainfall conditions. So I'm just going to explain the functions of this replay mode. If we click on this play app button there, we'll increment the system automatically in half-hour increments. If we click on the fast forward, we go through in 2-hour increments, or we can use these left and right arrows, which will increment the data through on an hourly basis, but we can actually control it a little bit more. So on this particular application, or this demonstration, we'll use these left and right icons. So what I want you to do is just to move forward with the time. So what I'm just going to do, because we've gone back into a replay mode, I'm just going to acknowledge the 6 alerts that are showing, and then we can step through. And as the data is loaded, you can just see new data coming in as these graphs are updated. So we can step through each individual hourly period, and I'm just going to keep moving. And what will happen is when a new alert comes in, we'll see, as we've just seen here, and a new alert has come in. It's come up at this Santec, this site here, and there's one acknowledged CSO alert. We can also see that the alert at Penmarch has disappeared, as the CSO status has moved from, actually it went from red to amber very briefly, and then into an OK scenario. So, and that actually matches the rainfall very well. So we're getting good correlation between these two graphs. But again, with the issue is that the issue we have with this particular CSO is that we're seeing these high and high conditions arriving, but there's no real rainfall to match and to drive that. So if we just keep moving forward, I'm just going to take it up to midday. So I'll just wait for the dashboard to catch up with itself. So we're now showing 1 o'clock. Take it forward a bit more. We can progressively see more data coming in, and we can see the shape of the graphs changing. Okay, and what we've now got, we've now got a beach CSO alert has come in place. So what we've been monitoring at the moment is the performance of the inland CSOs, and we can see how this graph and data is changing. But now I'd like just to go through and look at one of the beaches that we've looked at. So this is where we are using a range of CSO data to flag up that there is a particular beach that is now in breach of its limits, and so a CSO is discharged, which might then cause a pollution incident on the beach, and therefore there is a notification issue going forward to the beach owners. So if we click on this icon, we can see here that we actually when we were stepping through the data a little bit earlier, we went through too quickly for the 1 o'clock. The brief 1 o'clock transition, and we're now into this transition here. So we're monitoring and making an estimate of the E. coli and enterococci loading onto this particular beach. It's important to stress that this is using a very the first methodology that we applied to the beach system, whereby we're essentially working out these two loadings based on a time of travel basis from the CSO to the beach. We have now implemented a much more sophisticated methodology using local tide data, which takes the inputs of detailed beach modelling undertaken by Intertek and we have incorporated the results of the beach modelling into a much more complex calculation system, so that we are actually taking both the real time, we're applying effectively the real time, or not the real time, the modelled scenario for every cubic metre of discharge from a particular CSO, using the outputs from that modelling into a real-time application, and then and combining that with local tide conditions. And that's the system which we actually have live with Anglian Water at this moment in time. So hopefully you can start to see that this is the purpose of this particular dashboard. We can see some of the features that are available in the system. I'm now just going to cancel off the replay mode, and I'm just going to quickly go through some of the features that we have within each of these tabs. Bearing in mind this dashboard is refreshed about every 2 minutes, so at the moment this is showing the data presented from the when we're looking at the historic mode. In a minute or so this will refresh, and it will refresh with the latest data. So it'll refresh all the icons, and which is why this map's actually gone clear. But if I look through the inland CSOs, these are all the CSOs that we have available, and for any of these CSOs we can click on one of the icons, we can catch the local rainfall data, and we can actually see the combination of alert status and level data. So actually just clicking on this one is a good one to choose. We can see that we've had a rainfall spike at this particular moment in time, and that actually led to a discharge from this CSO. And that was the level data that we've seen here. If I uncheck that, if we check this rainfall button, this presents a little rainfall grid over each of the areas that we've been monitoring, or each of the inland CSOs. And clicking on that icon shows not the average rainfall, but it shows the actual rainfall. So this actually is the rainfall, the 5-minute rainfall data that we received, that is used to make up the average rainfall. So I'll take that icon off, and on the beaches side again we have an icon showing the beach CSOs. So we've only got a few shown in this particular demonstration, so we have 3 CSOs here. So if we click on one of those CSOs, we can see again rainfall data, we can see a flow data. So this actually was the 1 o'clock or 12:30 discharge, which we missed when we were skipping through the data in the time replay mode a little bit earlier. And we can look at the beaches, the rainfall data associated to that CSO, and we can look at the individual beaches, and that's the individual. We've only got one beach shown here. There are also a number of tools that we have available, specific tools for monitoring and managing the beaches. We have a maintenance mode, which allows us to view this data and to put this beach into maintenance. And if we put it into maintenance, we'll actually get a little maintenance icon appear here. And we can also set beach correction factors, which allow us to make an adjustment for the flow that's being received or discharged from each of the CSOs, in case we want to make some modifications to the system in that way. Actually, while I've got the opportunity, this icon is still present, I'm just going to uncheck that and go back into the reports. And if we check the beach CSO feeds, this report is there to basically to show which CSOs are discharging to this particular beach. So the beach alerts that we were seeing earlier within the system are caused by discharges from CSO1 and CSO3. So that really covers the main functions and the features of this particular dashboard, and covering specifically the inland CSO monitoring aspects and the beach monitoring. As mentioned earlier, we also have 2 other areas covered by the same dashboard, which is shell fisheries and the catchment monitoring, but these aren't set up within this particular demonstration. It is very important to stress that all of the calculations that are used to display data in this dashboard are processed within the calculation engine and are set up within the Meniscus PC client, and this is basically what that application looks like, and it allows us to set up and define all the calculations that we're using within the system, and everything we have here is web-based. So that finishes this particular video. If you have any information or any questions, then please feel free to give Meniscus a call, and we'll endeavour to help where we can. Thank you for your time. Bye.